Hello, this is Mikhail Tank, and this is the Archetypal Mosaic. I do shows now when there's something to say, whether it's a really interesting interview or a conversation, or sometimes it's because I have something to say or share. This particular show is going to be about the new Kindle release called The Nature Within, a cycle of 5 proses, which is going to be available worldwide in about 2 days from the recording of this, so probably by the time you hear it. This has been a very interesting time because this particular cycle of Mercury Retrograde and the super blue moon, and the blue moon means that there's 2 full moons in 1 month, but not always is it a super blue moon as it was. And it's a very powerful time in terms of spirituality, the unconscious, magic, creativity, and releasing and banishing all that doesn't work in your favor in a positive, neutralizing way. At the same time, creating and choosing your inspirations. Inspirations don't have to be necessarily people. They can be nature and stones, for example. People who know me know how much I love jadeite and Z beads, the old ones, and ponamu. Inspiration can come from even really good fresh bread. Gives me great inspiration. And fresh milk and excellent water. Very simple things. Good air. Of course, the sun and the moon, and just very simple things that have been around much longer than I have. They give me inspiration. In this case, the inspiration comes from the magnetism of the full moon. And what I will do in this show is read the abstract and the 5 proses, because it's still that time, and I always love to capture the truth of the moment before the time changes and the energy changes and the emotions change. So I'm just going to read everything. Here's the abstract. My new short-form Kindle release, The Nature Within, a cycle of 5 proses, will soon be available worldwide. It includes 5 pieces written during the united cycle of Mercury Retrograde and the super blue moon. Behind the title of the cover art is a simple photo I took of that very moon as I took a break from driving in my car. It was amazing how, of course, how close it appears. Of course, it's not, but how close it appears when it's a super moon. And it's so magnetizing and beautiful. Please note that no AI was used or is ever used in the creation of my art, prose, and poetry, etc. Everything comes from the soul, and as wise Sir Crowley once stated, poetry is the geyser of the unconscious. Fantastic quote. And I don't usually use quotes, or because everything comes from my soul, very, very specifically and purely. But I love this quote because it's the geyser of the unconscious is just a precise image. Separately, my AI startup, magatamai.com, exists for the good of all. It works for, it's there to create that bridge of emotional intelligence and care, including the nature within. Art is my longest friend, soul vase, riding along the full moon, and blue moon. And actually, I wrote much more during this cycle for my future project that I'm working on called The Royal Dragon and the Rhythm Within, which will include currently 10, but there's so many more tracks that I'm going to incorporate into it and kind of choose what works best. It's a concept project, and this is a wing of the concept project, one of the dragon's wings. This particular cycle of 5. And strangely, I just feel like reading the keywords I decided on for this abstract. Kindle, Mikhail Tank, no AI here, prose poetry, new release, Dark Soul Theater, From the Soul, MR, stands for Mercury Retrograde, Blue Moon Cycle. I'm going to read them right now. And just a little note, sometimes when I write or release a poem, some of them I keep for future projects, like the many that are will be incorporated in the Dragon Project, the Royal Dragon Project, but some of them I release immediately, instantaneously as I come up with them or they come through me. And when I do so, I know that there are some grammatical errors, but it doesn't matter because the meaning is there, it's clear, the images are there, and then later, when I compile, I do my best with the, grammatical correcting. However, that's not my key concern. The key concern is for the truth of the soul to just spill out. It's always been the case, way before I've ever even heard of Crowley, way before I heard of anybody else. I started doing poetry and prose when I was a kid. And the first thing I ever wrote was actually called You Have Been Taken, and I wrote it in Washington on a school trip. It was the first prose/poem I wrote, and I still have it. Okay, here we go. The nature within. Every single person has duality, which makes them somewhat of a hypocrite. Every person who knows their worth and has strong self-love may appear to be a narcissist. It's easy to judge others, but why not look within? Find the darkness that tethers and enjoy its reign. Do good unto others and create if you can, thwarting that which haunts your spirit and uplift your soul within. I'm going to discuss these as I go along. Now, this, of course, is not in rhyme, but it is in rhyme. It's just not in perfect rhyme. The purpose of this, why it just came out of me this morning, is because I've heard so many people be judged incorrectly using terminology that is just so surface and so pathetic. And so I wanted to say with this prose, or my soul really wanted to express the fact that, instead of judging people so surfacely, look within yourself, find your own darkness, and ride it like a horse, in the sense that don't be afraid of it. Understand how to utilize it for the benefit of good. And if you can, create. There's so many people who can't. And but the ones that can, create good for the good of all. Thwarting that which haunts your spirit and uplift your soul within. And that came out very strongly out of me without thinking, because there are people talk about the evil eye and curses and stuff like that, and I will have a track all about that on the Royal Dragon Project, how to remove those if you choose to and if you can. But I will have to say, I not only believe that exists, but I know that it exists. And I also know that there are ways to clear the negative and make positive out of it. That's what art actually is. And I've been doing it for over 30 years, since I was a kid. And so I've mastered that. Now, I haven't mastered cooking. I haven't mastered skiing. I haven't mastered many things, but I have mastered this. So, and this is just completely natural, not from a book or from anyone else's experience. It's from my own. And the purpose of this prose, it's a very powerful one if you really take the time to feel it, is to really remove the thoughts, images, and projections that others have placed upon you, things that are not you. And as my favorite artist in the world told me over a conversation we had, Zabil и познает жизнь. It's such a huge compliment that she gave me, that it's like a huge diamond that I carry within me. And it means kind of, this is just a transliteration, but be your own soul engine. It's just one of many interpretations of that phrase, of that aphorism. But that's what I wanted to share, because I have seen so many people fall into the guise of others' visions, judgments, attachments. People may attach themselves to your art, to your personality, to your persona, to your psyche, because they feel like they can fly with you because they can't fly by themselves. And I've had that happen since many, many, many times, in relationships and friendships. And it's something that I can do. There's, again, many things I cannot do, but that's something I can do. And sometimes those attachments, they can hinder, restrict, suffocate, and almost destroy your spirit of flight and joy and creativity. And it's essential that no one even touches those gifts. That those gifts are blessed. Blessed be they. They are divine gifts, and they must be protected. And that is why, if you notice, artists sometimes stay away from influences and influencers and crowds and all this stuff, because it can kind of dirty their gifts. The next one is called Art is My Longest Friend, which goes perfectly with what I just said. Some folks don't care. Some tell me to alter. This labor of love is my longest friend, one that can never abandon, one that's attached at the hip, an extension of my great soul, and that's not hubris speaking. Art is my oldest friend, and it can bring justice through magic. So this piece also discusses the value of art. True art meaning your art from the deepest part of you that has to be released. And indeed, it becomes the wings, it becomes your ability to grow in many ways. It becomes your ability to self-reflect, let go of that which doesn't work, and magnetize what does. And the part where I say great soul, now I know that may sound to some people as if it were hubris. However, it's not, because the great soul is lended to me by God. It's not mine to keep, and it's not mine to be proud of, but it is exceptional. I've talked about this before also, both in conversations and reflections, but I know that I have maybe 3 exceptional gifts, not more. One of those 3 gifts is the great soul I have. And that's, again, as I said, lended to me, which I'm extremely grateful for. And then the last part, which is justice through magic, that's a very powerful statement that can mean nothing to some people, and that's great. What I'm trying to say by that is that magic, which is intention and energy and the natural gifts, it's kind of a combination of the 3 things, because without any of those things it just doesn't manifest. But magic may create justice, so for those who understand that, they understand it. For those who don't, they don't. There's nothing I can do about that. That's one of those interpretations. The next piece is directly from the Dragon Project coming up. The thing about this piece is I originally did a stream of consciousness to get this piece, and I did it near a cave in Japan, and I'm just going to play a tiny piece of that rough demo that just came out of my consciousness when I was standing in a cave. Let's see. I'm going to take 1 second here to find it. And what happened is that, let's see, Soul Vase is here. Here we go. I built a soul vase, or rather it was built for me and gifted as I entered this journey of life. So, and then it keeps on going for another almost 2 minutes. This again was the stream of consciousness. It wasn't written. I was just standing in the cave with the water in Japan, and I just turned the recording device on and let it go, because obviously the water, the cave, is a representation of a vase and the life force. And I didn't use any of that. I don't know if I will or not. It's there. But I wrote a different version of Soul Vase while in California from another perspective. So here's that one. Ask yourself, where is my energy leaking and from whom? Why am I feeling depleted, and why is my soul sad? Imagine a soul vase cut from a giant diamond. Fill it with breath and the elixir of life. Choose those who deserve percentages of your love, for love is the cleanest energy. And make sure no one else gets to drink from your life force. The concept of this came to me many years ago when I was living in Los Angeles, and I was working for a large entertainment corporation, and I was being depleted of my energy. And because it was an 8 to 6 job or whatever it was exactly, I don't remember, but I felt super depleted. And obviously it's one of those things you have to keep doing and doing. So this image came to me of a vase, and it's more than just a visualization. It goes deeper than that, because it's a restructuring of the psyche. And at that point I could only visualize it, but I couldn't utilize it. And it took me time to actually be able to use it, use the vision, use the concept. And this is kind of a explanation without instructions, let's put it that way. The one that the demo from Japan is kind of a flowing meditation. There are slightly different variations, but neither of them are kind of instructions or anything, of course. Okay, the next one is called Riding Along the Full Moon. Last night I drove, after a great time, on a long empty road, beside the giant sturgeon, the dinosaur fish with perfect black caviar, full moon, with the window down and my favorite playlist of the night, music and the rhythm of my mood. It was an ideal scenario, a beautiful time, a memorable drive. This one is literally just a writing of that moment, the true energy of that moment, and it's very self-explanatory. Where I come from, St. Petersburg, caviar was the thing. It wasn't necessarily for the pretentious element of it. No, it's because in my culture originally, it provides so much benefit in terms of vitamins and minerals that it can literally heal a person that's sick from a cold or a flu or whatever, not like from extreme issues. And that is not a medical statement. That is simply, how could I put it, like a folk tale, which for me worked. And I know many people who it worked for, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for anybody else. So check with your doctors. This is not medical advice. And the sturgeon, in my family has told me many times how old that fish is and how giant it is and how great it tastes. I mean, I've eaten it many times. But it's fascinating that this was the first full moon of August, whereas the super blue moon was at the end of August. So this was the beginning of the cycle. And indeed, what I meant by great time, just like longest friend, is simply the distance. Meaning that I didn't drive the whole time I was in Japan. So it was after a very long time that I drove, and it was right around the time that I got back to my car when all this started with the moons. So it was really beautiful, and it's one of my favorite things to do. Here is the last one, which was written during the blue moon, the super blue moon at the end of August. So that was the beginning, this is the end. It's called Blue Moon. It's a blue moon, and I am reminded, words can malfunction, but energy never does. Those that are true, rewarded. Those unkind, thwarted. A powerful time to manifest and return the unwanted, to cherish all that has been brought to the light, to appreciate the lucky charms and not the serial kind. Love is the cleanest energy. Books are sacred perspectives. And one can feel, even I can feel when reading it, how much power there was behind the writing of this. And it was written during the super blue moon, which of course was super powerful. So that energy is forever instilled in this writing. This writing actually was so powerful that several people who read it had very strong reactions to it. And if they listen, just to let you know, I know who you are, and this was not written about you. So don't worry and be happy. Indeed, this was written about something. It was written about a variety of things. These two last statements, love is the cleanest energy, books are sacred perspectives, they both came to me as I was waking up on the mornings, because the full moon usually lasts, of course, this is not a scientific concept, but it usually lasts about 3 days in terms of the power of it. And some people would disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine for me. And those two statements came from me on 2 of the 3 mornings. Just when I was waking up, I was like, ooh, I gotta write this down. And then the rest of it just formed by itself. And everything here, every word, every statement, every sentence has a lot of power, and it comes from very specific experiences, events, and images. And that's all I'll say about that. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this reading and explanation by itself, fantastic, it's my gift to you. If you'd like the written version along with this or by itself, then please enjoy the Kindle variant. And if you would like the whole project, which this is only one wing of, that will be hopefully next year, if all goes well. That project again is called The Royal Dragon and the Rhythm Within, and it will have much more, be a very both powerful and creative and positive project of a very, very high good energy. I wish everybody an exceptional Samhain, and an exceptional cycle of New Year's that begins from Samhain, from Rosh Hashanah to Samhain to the first. Basically, the New Year's begin this week, at the end of this week, and then of course in October, and then of course in January. And so I wish everyone a blessed New Year.